The first step is to chop down a lot of trees. After I chop down a lot of mangrove tree, that's the giant square which I prepared for the sniffer. Now I need to work on a giant stone here, which on the sniffer I will stay. When I collect randomly mud, I found here some camels. That is a schematic of the future giant stone. Here I want to make a cave, and in that part I will leave the water here and I will go with the stone like that above the water. So I took some stone, I work on the stone structure and I go with that a little bit above the water because I want to keep the water and to continue that road here very close to that giant stone. Now the next step is to work on the top of that structure. That's my old mud and I think that will be not enough to finish. I didn't expect that, but the mud was enough for a big part. But I need a lot of more, so I start to collect them. I use my old mud, but I finish a big part of the back of that giant platform. I gather a lot of mud and I continue to place it. I finish to make the all edges and now it's the time for the top. I go to my prismarine farm and I found out that here I have a crazy amount of sand. Firstly, for some prismarine I need to stay a little bit AFK here. I use a free camera mode to see if the farmer works, and that works so good. After some minutes I gather a lot of prismarine crystal and I make some sea lanterns. Again I use my old mud, so I need some more. Back to work. For the sniffer I need a lot of concrete, but firstly I need to collect a lot of gravel. In the morning I found that gravel biome, which is perfect to me to gather a lot of gravel. I start to collect that. I took some sand from my prismarine farm and I start to beat some squid for insect. I gather a lot of insect and now I will make a lot of concrete. And here is a witch hunt very close to my mangrove village. I can make a witch farm here. I finish transfer the ore powder in solid concrete. The first step is to work on the legs of the sniffer. I finished to make that 6 giant leg and now the next thing is to work on the body. For that I will need a lot of mangrove wood. When I prepare that place I gather a lot of mangrove wood. Firstly I need to make that type of mangrove wood and after that I need to transform that in stripped wood. After some times I used my old mangrove wood and that was enough for a big part of the sniffer. I chop down a lot of tree and I fill up my entire inventory with mangrove wood. I go to my gold farm to repair some items. Back to work. I use my old mangrove to a half of the red part. That's a weird place, but I fill up again my entire inventory with mangrove wood. Back to my giant sniffer. I finished to make the red part of the giant sniffer and now I will need to go in Nether to gather a lot of warp stamp. Firstly I repair my axe. The axe is done. I go so far for the spawn so I can start to gather a lot of warps. I fill up the first shulker box, the second and the third shulker box and a big part of my inventory, and I hope that will be enough to finish the sniffer statue. I'm back in my village and I start to make a lot of warp high pale, some warp planks, and I go to continue to work on the statue. I succeed to make a half of the warp part. I figure out a very fast way to transform the warp high pale. I transform it and I continue to work on the sniffer. That art begins to take shape. I finished to make that huge body and now comes the hardest part, which is the head of the sniffer. Also that interior is huge, I can make here a base. I finished to light the entire top of the sniffer. To cover the sea lanterns, firstly I transform the mangrove wood. I make a schematic of a half of the sniffer head and I will continue to work on that. I finish the ears and now is the time for the sniffer beak. I finished to make a little schematic and now I need some more wool and terracotta. I finished the sniffer beak and that look like very good. The next thing is to work on a lot of details here down. I make here a little road on the water around that giant platform, which I think look very good. Now the next thing is to add some vegetation on that platform. I add some details with some leaves, but I think it's enough space for more details. So I go in that giant lush cave to gather some lush cave stuff, which shader is more beautiful. I found here some axolotls, and because that is so rare in that new update, I will take some. Firstly, because I didn't have wood, I will make some bone meal and I will grow up an azalea tree. If you don't know, you can grow up an azalea tree. I took some iron from my ender chest and I make around 4 buckets. And I start to coach the axolotls. and I make a cute achievement. And another one here. And a lot of more axolotl here, but I didn't took more axolotls. That lush cave is incredibly huge. In my way to home, I meet with some camels, which is the new mob. I place a lot of moss, but now is the time for some spore blossom, because with that we have that special particle in the air. Because with that particles we get a special mood here. I add some details and now is the time to improve the lighting. So I add some lanterns, and I think that are look gorgeous. I make a root walls around the sniffer because I didn't want the mobs to go in my village. Because I want to hide the wall, I will start to plant a mangrove tree very close to that, like that one. Finally, I can say that the Giaient Sniffer is finished. Because I have a big goal, which is to make another Netherite beacon, I go back to my creeper farm to make some more gunpowder. I use a 3-camera mode to check the anti-screaming system, and that one is far more efficient than the first one. After I stay 50 days AFK on my creeper farm, I get almost 6 double chests of gunpowder. So it's the time to craft TNTs. I transform my old gunpowder into TNTs and I get 2 shulker blocks and a half. After a lot of mining, I gather more 5% to the ancient debris, which I need for the netherite beacon.